Hello and welcome back. We'll go ahead and get started in the interest of time, so thanks everyone for joining us again. I'm going to turn it over to Dave Podolsky, and he is one of the original Switchvox founders and developers, and he is the Director of Engineering, and he's based out of San Diego, California. So I'm going to turn it over to Dave at this point. Thanks.
All right. How is everyone? Good. Yeah, it's developers. All right. So like Angie said, I'm David Podolsky. I'm the Director of Engineering for BCS, which is Business Communication Systems, or Switchvox. So like she said, I'm also one of the original founders of Switchvox. So I've been here ever since Switchvox was launched, day zero, all the way through when we merged with Digium. I'm also the original designer, architect, engineer behind the Switchvox Extended API. Yeah. And I'm telling you this for a couple reasons. One, love to brag. Just want to get that out there. Huge ego. And two, for you guys, confidence. So confidence that you know what I'm talking about. You know this wasn't something that was pushed onto me. It's not product management made these slides. I did. I'm talking from something that I built. Also confidence in that this is something that's important to Digium. This is something that's important to Switchvox. So we put a lot of effort into it, and we do talks about it because we really want you guys to build some cool stuff with it. So I hope you took it away from that and my bragging as well. So I'm going to go through what I'm going to talk about today. Tristan kind of mentioned the Switchvox Extended API. We've had some great high-level examples from our panel up here about what you can do with it. So I'm going to start back at the beginning, really, on what is it. Some people might be cloudy about that, so I'm going to dive into that. I'm also going to dive into why is it so important, kind of not just the what you can build with it, but why we're even doing it, because I think that sometimes gets overlooked. Second part, I'm going to go over each component of it, kind of tell you everything that you could possibly do with the API, and so maybe that'll spur some ideas on what you can build. And then the third part, I'm going to go over some new blog articles we're going to put up on Developer Central. And so really the more than articles, the more projects. We had some engineers in-house write these blog articles. They tell you from beginning to end how to implement them, and they have code. They have everything you need to build these. Some of these, many of these, they might not mean anything to you, might not want to build them. Yeah. And some of them you might want to for your business. But the whole point of some of these articles is to get your imagination flowing. You may be laughing at the last one, how to browse call recordings with iTunes Coverflow. I don't know if that's something important to your business. I think maybe a better way would actually to view the call recordings via a web page. But I just want to show you the power of it, and then you can take that and go, that's exactly something my client, my customer, that I need for my business, and I can take that and I can go ahead and build it. So let's start at the beginning, just the fundamentals of the Switchvox Extend API. So first, just the what is it? What is the Switchvox Extend API? What is Switchvox Developer Central that people have mentioned? And really, what I'm going to give you is the elevator pitch. If you don't know what an elevator pitch is, after this meeting, you walk to the elevator. Some guy asks you, "Hey, I didn't make it to the Extend API meeting. What is that thing about?" Well, you got 6 floors to tell them, so you pretty much need to blurb something out. So the Switchvox Extend API, very simple. It's the way for external applications to exchange information with a Switchvox PBX. So if a developer wants to get information from the Switchvox PBX or wants the Switchvox PBX to talk with an external application, you use the Extend API. That's your elevator pitch. That's how you convey it to someone. Pretty simple and easy. Now that opens up a ton of questions, but I think that's a good summary of it. Same thing for Developer Central. What is that? Really, it's a website. It's an online location for developers. You got resellers, integrators to come, learn, share, explore, download the code, post the forums. That's what that's for. If someone wants to integrate, like I said, a key business component, say adding a call me box to your website where a customer can come in and enter their number and the phone will automatically call them and hook it up to your queue, you can go ahead and do that. That's a blog article we have today. The code's there. It's in PHP. It shows you how to add that box to your website. A lot of people have taken advantage of that. We internally have done it. If you've gone to Digium and seen that box, it's built off our API. Hooks up with our live system. All right, so Switchvox Extend goals. We've kind of talked about the what you can build, but why did we even decide to add it to the product? There's a ton of reasons for this. We really want, I think the way to sum it up is that everyone uses their phone system a little bit different. Everyone has a little different feature that we just can't come up with, and we don't have time to add them all. So we wanted to make an API so developers can come along and add those features. I've been talking to a lot of resellers these past couple of days, a lot of partners. One thing they brought up was, what happens, the problems they have on day 3 with deploying a new Switchvox system. So everything goes smoothly, and then day 3, the customer comes and goes, doesn't have this feature. What are you talking about? I use this every single day, and it was never brought up during the sale. You never knew it was important to them. And then, oh my God, their business is crumbling because they don't have night mode. Our old system had night mode. You bought me this brand new voice recognition system. It doesn't have night mode. Well, with the Extended API now, Switchvox does not have night mode. If you look at our product documentation, our marketing, there is no night mode checkbox. But with the Extended API, you can build that. And night mode means a lot of different things to different people. Sometimes it means, oh, I hit a button, I call an IVR, it tells me night mode's off, I press 1, I turn on night mode. And then the receptionist leaves for the day. You could build that with the Extended API. Some people mean I want to go to my browser on my mobile phone and want to tell me if night mode's on. You can build that with the API. That'll never be a feature of Switchvox. Maybe it will, but it'll probably never be a feature of Switchvox, but you can build it today. We have the blog articles. So the whole point is you can build these features. You can extend Switchvox to make it work exactly how you want it. So see the extend? See how I did that? There you go. That's why we call it extend. So again, I'm just listing off some of the ideas here. It's definitely a communication mechanism for external applications. If you have a Windows application, you have a customer database, web service. Some good examples of this is, one of the reasons we wanted to put in the Extend API, it's a way for us to build our own integrations. If you've used the Switchvox Notifier Suite, use the Extend API. Use call creation. If you've ever used the FireDialer plugin, call creation. If you ever use Switchvox Mobile, 100% API. If you guys have noticed, we released Switchvox Mobile for iPhone, for BlackBerry. We also did the Android one. We released that in the middle of our release cycle. We didn't release a new version of Switchvox. 5.0 was already out. And then these guys arrived. Well, that's weird. Why didn't you release a new version of software? Because they used existing APIs. Anyone in this room could have gone and built Switchvox Mobile. There was nothing secret about this. We used all the documentation up on our website, and we built it. We felt that it was a need for it. That's why we did it. But it was completely available. So, for example, we don't have a Windows version of our mobile suite. If you think that's important for your business, if you want to sell it, you can go build that today. There's no secret sauce. You can do that. And you can get a list of the voicemails, list of the calls, check your status, change your call rules. It's something you can do. So that's what we're talking about. And that's something that we can do with our API. We can build this stuff and not have to release new versions of Switchvox, not put anything special. And like I kind of touched on, individual customer needs. Everyone's a little bit different. Everyone has their own database. Everyone has their, their own customization that they want, their own panel that they want. I've learned more CRM systems than I care to know. I've never heard of Boost CRM. I don't know what that is. But it's how we run our business. Well, we have these APIs. You could go ahead and try to integrate with it, and it works. And then you can say, I didn't know you guys integrate with Boost CRM. I didn't know either. So there you go. There's a lot of other lists that people have come back and used this for, a consolidation tool for a large number of resellers. Resellers have a lot of systems out there. They just have sometimes problems managing them. Sometimes SNMP is just not the right fit for them. So they can go ahead and access our APIs. They can get the number of extension seats they have on their system. If they want a concise little report run for them every single day, every single month. If they want to get system health, if they want to check how many providers they have on their system, what they're up. You can get information from these systems and collect them and give them to you. Vertical markets, I think that's another one that's very important. If you look at our feature set, we don't say we integrate with hotels. That just means a lot of different things. But really, when you dig down to it and you say, well, what do you need for your hotel? They'll explain it to you. Oh, we need a wake-up call system that I can go to a web page, I can type in a room number, and then at 8 a.m. it'll call them. Something you can build the API today. So it really allows people to get into those vertical markets without waiting for us to build a call wake-up feature inside of Switchvox. Same thing for call centers. We had some panels up here, some of the stuff they've done for the taxi cab company. We don't have taxi cab integration, but someone built a really good solution that Randy talked about today. Call features, kind of went through those, night mode, auto dialers, IVR confirmation system. There's really just endless amounts of things you can do with it. So that's kind of the what and the why. I think that covers most of it. I guess I'll just take a quick pause. Any questions about that so far? Good. So that's kind of philosophy thing. So. Yeah.
So someone builds these things. Are they showcased on the developer site now?
Yeah, so we have a featured application on our developer site. You can go and look at that. Some of the stuff we've built already, you can go to our blog and get all the information. So that's a really good question because we're part of the Asterisk company, and Asterisk is open source, and they have this very good community, very good feeling of sharing, share. But obviously, when you're dealing with a business product, and you build something really cool, and it makes you really enticing to a niche market, you're not always apt to share because you might be running up against that guy later on. I really do encourage sharing. I like sharing the ideas, but I think there's a little resilience to just go ahead and throw the code up there, or a little money, yeah.
Can you make money on it?
You can definitely make money at it, yeah. I mean, and that's what Ken was talking up here. He's got a great integration with the Microsoft CRM, and he's sold it to other people that want that integration. And so I'd love to feature that as well. If that's something that we can do, then that's great. So even though we come from the open source world, you can still share your ideas and share what you've done. And I'd like to encourage that a little bit more. Any other questions before I dive in? Okay, so the next part, I'm just going to go into the components, talk about each piece. And this hopefully is what's going to do is going to bring us some ideas of what you can do with it. So dig a little bit deeper. So I've kind of broken down in these 5 different sections: core methods, call creation, IVR Web Integration, event notifications, and then custom switchboard panels. So I'm going to touch on what each of these pieces are and then what you can do with them. So the API core methods, what are the core methods? Most of these guys, I think, Eric brought up, they pretty much use the core methods. What it is it's an XML-based, it's an API to get information from Switchvox. If you want a list of all the extensions on your system, use the extend core method. If you want a list of the current calls, if you want to fetch logs, if you want to download the voicemail, if you want to do any of that, this is where you're going to go ahead and pull that information from. And one thing Tristan touched on as well was about what I call eating our own dog food. I think it's something that Microsoft made famous. But one thing is with all these methods, like if you're going to get a list of voicemail, or you're going to get a list of your extensions or your call logs, we use all those APIs in our product. If you're looking in the call logs page, that's actually using the call logs API. If you're looking at the list of extensions, that's actually using that API. And a lot of people will say, like, well, duh, of course, why wouldn't you? Yeah, and it makes sense. It makes complete sense. And so why I'm highlighting this is not everyone does this. You'll go to other vendors, you'll look at other products, and really a lot of their APIs are something they just clunked onto the side of it. If you go and get a list of their users, use their API, it works completely different. It's not the same list. It's broken because they don't test it, because they only test the web interface, because that's the most important part. So what I'm explaining here is that it's core to what we're doing. It's not something we clunked onto the side. All of our pages use this. The same information available in our GUI is also available in our API. Our API does expose additional things, so if there's a piece that's not there, always look in the API and see if there's some extra bit of information for you. What kind of information? The list is huge. We have hundreds of API. Like I said, just in 5.0, we released 177 new methods. Get list of extension, call logs, system status, hardware information, call rule sets. Go to Developer Central. You can click on our wiki. We have them all listed. Every single one of these tells you exactly what parameters they take. It also gives detailed description about what each one does. You'll also get a sample XML from what request would look like, what a response would look like. All the information's there. There's nothing that's missing. And if you ever find a bit of information, just email us. We'll make sure it gets there. But they're fully detailed. They're usable. You can go read about them right now.
David, what email should we contact you at if you find something on it?
Probably if you find something on the wiki, you can either go to the forums or just email api@switchvox.com. So API is a really simple one to do. And I said much more. There's a lot of other things that you can go and get that information. This was all just when released with 4.6, so there's tons and tons more of these. So that kind of goes over the core methods, just an easy way to pull out that information. The next piece is, I think, what a lot of the creative solutions come out of is the call creation. Why do you have a PBX? To make and receive calls. So it's actually part of our core methods. It's really easy. It uses the same interface. You send XML of what you want the PBX to do. It returns XML back on whether it was successful, whether it had problems. The two main calls are switchvox.call, which an admin would use if you want to generate calls to two different parties. And if you wanted to give the user ability to make calls, it would be switchvox.users.call. The only difference between these is who logs into them and who has access to them. So if you wanted to use the switchvox.users.call, you need an extension and a password to accomplish that. If you wanted the switchvox.call, you'd have to have an admin credential. The switchvox.users.call is mainly found in the applications that you're used to using. FireDialer, that's why you have to use your extension and your password to log in. Switchvox Mobile, extension and password. Underneath the hood, those are passed right to users.call to actually make that happen. This is just a quick example. If you wanted to dial a customer first at this number, 858-457-8299, and then when they answered that call, you want the hookup to your extension 800, which is maybe your auto attendant, that you're reminding them to renew their subscriptions. This would be just example XML of how you do it. Like Eric said, it's human readable. What you want to dial first, what you want to dial second, and then who you want to dial that as. So it would use that person's outgoing call rules to accomplish that. That's the XML to do that. You just send that to Switchvox, and it'll actually make these calls. And then what you can build. I already went through, we've built some of this stuff. It's all built off of our APIs. So again, no secret sauce under there. We just use the technology to go ahead and build these things. So Switchvox Mobile, all built off our APIs. Okay. Plenty of real-world examples. Again, like I said, hopefully this is more of a brainstorming imagination session for a lot of people. What can I do? So the real-world applications, like I said, doctor's office, appointment confirmation system, a web store, order confirmation system. You want a sales lead generator. You put that Let Us Call You box on your website. Switchvox actually uses this to remind you to renew your subscriptions. We email you first, and if it gets down to the last minute, we're going to go ahead and call you, and it's going to be all automated and remind the reseller, remind the customer, you need to update your subscriptions. You're about to expire. So we use this ourselves. It's a really great tool. Plenty of non-real world applications. I like those. I've actually done this before. You have a meeting, and you go, this is going to be an hour-long meeting. I don't even want to go to it. Schedule a call to interrupt you in the middle and go, I got to go. This is really important. I've done this before. It works great. Hold on, I'm getting something right now. Okay. All right, what else we got? We got IVR Web Integration. This is another important piece. I have a lot of stuff written about here about IVRs. Hopefully a lot of people in this room know about IVRs. You can read my blurb. But really the important piece here about this is that the IVRs are something that everyone uses with all your PBXs. You call in, you get an auto attendant, and then what can you do from there? A lot of people just think I can just play sounds in the IVR. Well, if you ever dealt with a Switchvox system, there's 30 different actions you can do. You can send DTMF, you can record digits, you can play sounds, there's conditional clauses, gatekeepers, a lot of different things you can do. And three important ones are ones that actually interact with outside services. And so we have three of those, which is you can go ahead and send call values. I think it's on the next slide. You can send call values to a URL. So you can collect that information in the IVR. You can read the digits that they enter. Maybe they record their sound. You can go ahead and send that information to your web service and then do things with it. You can upload recorded sound. So if a customer calls in and they need to get a hold of a sales guy, you could say the sales guy's names. And they say that name. You send it to your server and you say thank you. He'll contact you shortly. And then you can have their recording. I don't know why you'd want to build that, but you could. Play sound from URL as well. You can go ahead and download sounds from a server and then play those straight to the customer. So say you have a really good text-to-speech engine that you've bought, you can go ahead and get that sound from the server and go ahead and play it right through our IVRs. PBX event notifications. Sorry if I'm going through this pretty quickly, but I want to get through this to get to our sneak preview or blog articles. All this information is available on Developer Central. So if I'm going through this too fast and you really don't understand a bit of it, go on Developer Central, talk to me afterwards. We can dive in even deeper. I mean, the API is really rich. Event notifications. So this is where the PBX will reach out to your service and tell you real time when things are going wrong, are happening. So when there's an incoming call, when there's a new, routing to an extension, a new voicemail was left, a new voicemail was checked, someone logged into the queue. So these different actions that happen to your PBX and you want to be queued on them, you can go ahead and write web servers that listen to them. New voicemail is a great example. This is a new example of the day 3 issue where they said, oh, we used to have this voicemail box when someone left a voicemail, I used to email these 3 people. You don't have that feature? That's ridiculous. You go, oh, okay, well, I have this on new voicemail. So when that voicemail comes in, I can go ahead and send out 3 alerts to these people, and I can say, hey, there's a voicemail in the important sales box. Go ahead and check it. And you could even add a feature and say, hey, whenever it's checked, I'm going to email the whole list and say, hey, Brandy's checked that email. You can do that. And so they'll go, okay, so not only did you give me the feature, but you expanded on it, and now you alert me when someone checks it. My old system didn't do that. This is great. So you turn a very bad situation into something very good. Some just perfect examples. Again, I'm not digging in too deep, but a lot of these I like to give examples of how it actually works. When I say they actually reach out and talk to your web service, they hit up URLs. These are example URLs of what they're actually going to hit up. So the top example is a call routing engine based on a web service with a back-end database. So say a call comes in and you want to figure out in the call ID exactly who to route it to. Maybe you have a huge database like a CRM system of who the agent talked to last. You go look up the caller ID, you find who they talked to last, and you route it to that guy's extension directly. Don't send it to sales queue, do not pass go, do not do anything. Pass them to him directly. And so this would be an example of having to do that. 192.168.0.10 route.cgi, that's your service that you built. Those caller ID number, caller ID name, those are filled in by Switchvox. Then you pass back to us where you want the call to go to. Simple, easy, works really well. Yeah, down below it actually fills it in. It's perfect. And then, yeah, down below, I also include an example of the XML that you get back. Call info, transfer extension 333. So it comes in, say it doesn't even hit any, say they don't hear any playback in the IVR, just get this guy to 333. He's a huge order. Larry picks up the phone. He's talking to the customer right away. No chance of losing that. The what? Unless Larry's not at a desk. But then you can also use the IVR, and in the IVR we have another extension. It doesn't go to a web service, but it's called I think it's check extension status. And you can actually say check Larry's status 333. If he's busy, then go back to the IVR and route him to the sales queue. So there's your solution right there. Custom switchboard panels. Okay. So switchboard panels, if everyone's familiar with our switchboard, it's where you get a lot of information, real-time information about what's going on in your system for an individual. You can see what's happening in your call queues, Google Maps pops up, your phone book, your current calls. You can build your own panels as well. And so a panel that we whipped up, and I believe it's on the blog, is about our Flickr panel. We originally didn't have, way back in the day, we didn't have actually images in Switchvox, so I wanted to show everyone my beautiful face when I was calling them. So this quick Flickr panel, we put all our images in Flickr, we put some information in there, and whenever a call came in, we went to Flickr, looked up the extension, and it displayed the information real time. So obviously this makes real good sense for a CRM system. If it's not Salesforce, it's not Sugar CRM, things that we integrate. They have some other custom CRM system. You can pull that information, you can put it right in their face. So custom switchboard panels are really nice.
Is there a plan to have a pop-up for switchboard panel on an outbound call?
Pop-up for an outbound call.
I have a specific application right now where I can do that, and I haven't figured out how to do it.
Yeah, we can add something like that. I think that kind of goes into what I'm going to talk about on the next slide, about the futures. So what is the future of the API? Well, the first thing is more extended APIs. We can always use extra stuff. Just got a request in. Someone wanted from our extended API to be able to log in, log out, and pause and resume a user right from the core methods. So that's something we're working on. It's already scheduled to be in 5.5. I can release that much information. And so you'll be able to do that from our extended API if you want to build an app like that. Yeah, you could definitely build a hot seating application around that for a customer if they wanted that. And then real-time API, push notifications via XMPP. So what that means is right now, if you're launching our switchboard, all those real-time messages are coming over XMPP, over Jabber. And if you wanted to go ahead and build your own application that logged into our XMPP interface and use those real-time alerts, maybe you wanted to build a small Windows desktop client that you could go ahead and get notifications when certain people entered or left the queue, you could tie into our XMPP interface. So you could technically do that today. And you could log in, it uses user credentials, you could build that, but we don't have all the documentation around it. It's not inside of Developer Central. So what we're working on is getting all that information together and publishing it so people can make real-time interfaces just like our switchboard. And then the last was creating switchboard panels that aren't in iframes, so native JavaScript. And this kind of was going to Jord's question, where right now it's just inbound calls that we listen for, and we refresh your panel on new inbound calls to do something with. If we expose more than just iframes, if we let developers make their own native JavaScript apps, you can listen to all our events, not just new incoming calls, but outbound calls, status updates, call queues, everything that the switchboard, our custom panels do, you can listen for and build those own applications. So that would be a good example of use. And I think what that builds on is not only you could build your custom ones, but if there was something you didn't like about ours or you wanted to look different, again, it's all about customizability. What your reseller wants, what your customer wants, you could build your own. Right now, the call queues panel is this small, and there's a lot of the details in there, and all the details are kind of given the same weight. But maybe your customer goes, I really need to see the abandoned calls as big as you can put on my screen. Well, you can write your own custom app that just put a big number right there on the screen. Maybe they put it on a wallboard. However you want to do it, and you can build those with that real-time queue application. Okay, so that kind of sums up the components. I know we went through it pretty quick. I wanted to get to the blog sneak peek article. We probably won't get through all of them, and I wanted to leave some time for questions. But any questions about the core components? You guys all understood it. Awesome. Okay, so Switchvox Extended API blog article sneak peek. So we're posting some new, like I'm going to call them projects on our blog. They're going to show you how to build some stuff with the Extended API. So if you're getting started, or a lot of these you might even want them for your own PBX, for your customers' PBX, to show you how to build them, and I'll even give you the code available. So I'm going to pick a couple of them here. I think we have about 5 of them. One of the first ones is creating an iCal appointment reminder system. This was done by one of our engineers, Adrian Peruxakarn, and we kind of went over, we kind of threw back some ideas, what do we want to build, and we kind of came up with something that would really help me out that I'm going to start using, is how to be reminded of meetings you have that are in my iCal calendar, and to call me about those meetings, and then also not only call me and remind me about them, but just call me and put them right in there. I always have to go back to my calendar, check what the number is, check what the pin is, dial the number, dial the pin, I'm in the conference. Why doesn't it just call me? So that's essentially what he has written out, and he'll tell you how to do in this article. So there's an example of something that would actually be in your calendar, a conference with Joe and Fred, and they always put the conference call in there, they put the number, and they use what pin to put in there. So what this system does, I'm going to talk a little just high level. What this system does is 10 minutes, and this is all customizable. Again, all the code's there. 10 minutes before the conference, it calls up. It lets you know that you have a meeting coming up. And it lets you know that it found a number on that meeting request. And it reads it back to you. It goes, hey, 10 minutes, I found this number. Do you want me to just call you back in 10 minutes and connect you? And you could either say 2 and say, no, I'll call myself. Or you can press 1. That sounds great, automated call reminder system. It'll call you back. And if it doesn't have a PIN code, it'll just put you right in. So just call your phone, you answer it, you're in the meeting, don't have to worry about that number is. If it did find a PIN code, it's going to call you back, and it's going to first play back and goes, hey, just a reminder, you're going to have to enter the PIN code 555 when I connect you. It'll say that, and then it'll go ahead and connect me to the conference. So that's something we built, and all of this uses a couple different components of our API that I went through. So one of the components is the call creation API. It called me. It let me know that I have an appointment coming up. Also in the reminders, it called me. The first thing when it called me back, it hooked me up into IVR and then played back the digits. It passed the variables that was the PIN code to the IVR. It played them back to me, and it went ahead and dialed another external number. Another thing that it uses is the IVR interaction. So it spit me to the IVR in the beginning and asked me, hey, do you want me to call you back in 10 minutes? or don't you want to call, or do you not want me to call you back? If I press 1, it goes ahead and contacts a web service he built, and then it stores that in the database right next to the entry on whether to call me back. So I pressed 1, it says, yeah, remember to call him back. I pressed 2, it just deleted the record, it'll never call me back. So it uses those 2 pieces to build a really powerful feature. So does Switchvox create an iCal appointment reminder system as a feature? You won't see that in that marketing docs, but it's something that he built. It just took him a couple of, maybe a day actually, to whip up, write a blog article, and now you have this feature as part of Switchvox. So you could build it, tweak it, do what you want today. And again, I'm just going to scroll through. It tells you what you need to do, tells you prerequisites, what he used, verifying your setup. It has screenshots of all the IVRs he set up. You'll be familiar with these if you've used Switchvox. You can just follow along. It has screenshots of every single IVR. And then down at the bottom here, actually has the database schema that he used, and also all the code that he actually used here. All this is the Perl code. If you know Perl, you can download it. If you know PHP, Ruby, whatever you want to use, you can go ahead. We have libraries for every single one of those. If you use PHP, we have that library available under Developer Central. Just go to our library section and go ahead and download your library. And then at the very end, in a nice little, concise little zip format, like he says, you can download all the code. Example here. So all that's available. Take it, run with it, build what you want. So I'll take a quick stop right there. Questions about that blog article? How he did it? Any mystery there?
Yeah, I can't believe it. Where was the call to the Perl script? Like that in the IVR that you built?
The call to the so the Perl script is yeah, so there's 2 Perl scripts really. One is a cron. So the cron fires up, I think, every 10 minutes. And then the Perl script fires off, checks the database, see who needs to be reminded. And then it would make those calls. The other Perl script is a simple CGI that he wrote, that he showed here. But that's part of the IVR. Because the IVR, remember the call hooks you up to an IVR and plays back that message. Hey, you have an appointment coming up in 10 minutes. Please press 1 to confirm. Please press 2 to cancel the reminder. So if you press 2, I need to write down my database, but that's inside Switchvox. How do I write it down? It has to hit up a web service, which is the Perl, and then it goes into your database and either deletes the record or adds a 1 to the record.
And so the call initiated from the Perl script running every 10 minutes on cron?
Yeah.
Spools the call from all files in originally?
No, so that's definitely asterisk geared call file. So we have an API called switchvox.call. And all you need to do is send an XML packet to Switchvox via our defined API and say, I want you to call this number first, and when they answer, I want you to hook them up with this number. And so those are the 2 parameters they pass. Switchvox handles the rest and then tells you whether it was success or not. So there's no copying call files. It's all the same API defined.
And to be clear, all of this is done on an external server.
This is all done on an external server. Yes, it's not done.
Done on the Switchvox.
Cannot be done on the Switchvox appliance. And
Comments on why it can't, and in the future, is there a chance to make it all built in?
well, yes, I can. You don't want it on your Switchvox PBX. You want it on your external server because 1, it's not part of Switchvox, and 2, Switchvox is very good at what it does. It handles your calls, it runs, and that's what it does. If you have a third-party application, I want it on your own server because let Switchvox do what it does, and then let your third-party app do what it does. Because sometimes these third-party apps are not things you wrote. And so you don't want the potential of that application crashing, harming, doing anything to your Switchvox possibility. So more, it's a separation of church and state that you really want. So that's why we chose put it on your own server, do it that way. Okay, we have a couple more minutes. I like to show this one, browse call recordings with iTunes with Coverflow. So this is a fun one that, we just thought of what we could do. A lot of people do different things with call recordings. Like Randy said up here, they do a lot of call recordings and people need to review them. You have a new sales trainee, you need to review what he's doing. You need to check him day by day. If you have a new guy in tech support, you need to listen to his calls. There's a lot of things you do with call recordings. An easy way to do call recordings is jump into the Switchvox interface and press play and listen to it. But that's boring. So what we built here is a way to actually every time there's a call recording, it automatically, you put in some FTP settings, it FTPs them to an external server. that external server then copies those files and puts them on your local Mac hard drive. It imports them to iTunes, and it converts them into MP3s. They're currently waves. When it does the conversion, it does some fancy stuff with ID3 tags. It actually goes and hits up our API and takes the pictures of each individual right from our API. It shoves them into the MP3, just like it's a band's cover art. It also changes all the information, the album, the artist, and things like that to be all the information of the user. And so as a call queue manager, you just, every day they're just plopped into your iTunes. You flip through the pictures of the people you want to listen to. You find like Adrian, you go, yeah, I need to really see what Adrian was doing today. You click play, it just plays right through your iTunes. Again, there's easier ways to do this. You can go right into the admin interface and do it. You can build your own web interface. You can go right onto your FTP server. But I thought this was just highlighting how powerful it was and how fun you can have with the API as well. Any questions about that? And again, these are all going to be released on our blog very shortly. I think we're going to publish 2 of them today. And so it'll be on right after this talk. And then over the next couple of weeks, the rest of them are going to come out. Yeah, night mode IVR. OK, that leaves just a couple minutes for questions.